what I saw and what a lot of what you all shared. So this Momo here, no, I don't think they care about your what your nickname is. So we want to make sure that we keep it professional. Sexy turnip queen, although that might be appealing to someone, probably not that recruiter is not going to be able to appreciate that. And then the Instagram name, exactly, it's not relevant. And if the person is relevant, because let's just say you are looking for an event planning position, or maybe in some cases maybe a graphic design position. So you may have your Instagram on there. My daughter is a filmmaker and a photographer, and so a lot of what they will see, a lot of what the recruiters will see are going to be actual, they want to see her art or her photography. So there are cases where you would want to have your Instagram on there, depending on your craft, but it should be definitely always be a professional name for your Instagram. And then, yes, someone said the objective is very personal. It absolutely is very personal. And we don't need to know the nickname. Also, the spell check and this, by the way, here, not spelling out B. There's several instances of where they didn't spell things out. But let's talk about some things that are a little less obvious. So here, this student or this young person young lady put her GPA on here. So out of a 4.0, she got a 2.0. So I'm not going to judge her, but I'm going to say that if it's not going to contribute to your profile, if it's not going to give if it's not going to look great, then it doesn't need to go on your resume. So for this young lady, I probably would not have put this 2.0 on here. And I would say for each of you, when you're doing your resume, if it's not going to shine a great light on you, don't put it on your resume. So also, here she put down that she had volunteer responsibilities, but she doesn't really highlight it the way that it might be appropriate. So she says, I had to do 36 hours of community service, and I did it, but she could have highlighted that in a much different way. So she could have just put volunteer hours and said that and said what she did on her volunteer skills. Again, it says I also on the weekends help out at my family's restaurant. Well, she could have just said I had customer service experience. Also, with the reference, the employee or the candidate should never list their family as a reference. Tell me who else you could use. Let's just say, you don't know a whole bunch of people. You may not even be able to list your current job. What else can you do in terms of who might be a good reference?
Well, in this case, the place where she volunteered at might be good.
Exactly. The place where you volunteer. What about the pastor at your church? If you do a lot of work at church, just because you're not getting paid doesn't mean that it can't be a reference for you. So, and also your colleagues at that place that you worked can also be references for you. So just a fun little exercise to just show you what can go wrong. And I want to tell you all that although this resume is a made-up name, these instances of what people are doing that are inappropriate or not correct, these are actual examples. These really did come across my desk at some point. So you'd be surprised. So let's talk about building your resume. So there's two types of resumes that the person can have. One is a chronological resume, and the other one is a functional resume. So the chronological resume, which is the most common kind of resume, really focuses on the chronology of when a person worked. It's best suited for experienced job seekers, and again, it's the most traditional style. The other type of resume that sometimes this is actually new for people to hear is a functional resume. It focuses on a person's skills and abilities, not on their job. And it's best suited for people with little job experience or someone who's switching a career. and allow for more flexibility in organizing your information. So let's just say that you decide that you don't want to be the IT person anymore. You don't want to do customer service anymore. And I'm going to use that event management experience position again. So you're going for our event manager position. It's not something that you've gotten paid for before, but it's something that you have done many times over. And so using the functional resume is an opportunity for you to take skills that you've gotten from working other places or volunteering or just part of your everyday life, and you can put those skills on your resume by group. So we're going to look at an example of that. But the functional resume can be very useful if a person is trying to make a change in their career or if they don't have a lot of experience. Okay. So what are some tips in creating your resume? First, you want to make sure that you are it's simple and you have a professional email address. We just went over that. You can see how that can go bad. And then you want to condense your resume to really only one page. Now, what I'll say is if you have an extensive job history, sometimes keeping it to one page is not possible, and that's okay. So you just want to make sure that it's not very lengthy because, the chances and that all the really important things are on the first page. So if you can keep it to one page, please do. But if you can't, make sure that that snapshot on that first page is going to be critical for that recruiter. Use 10 or 12 point size font, and then an easy to read font. So that script font, if they can't read it, they're not going to hire you because they don't know what it says. Don't overuse capitalization, bold, or italics, and spell check. So again, the example we looked at, it was over exaggerated. However, there are errors on resumes all the time, so you want to just make sure that you're not only are you spell checking it, but give your resume to someone else to proofread. Because a lot of times when you are the person that creates the document, as you know, you will put words where they're supposed to be, but they may not actually be there. So it's a great idea for you to have someone else look over your resume. A resume must have verb tense consistency, and what do I mean by that? So when you're going to list what it is you did in your job, a lot of times you may in one job say that you developed something or you managed something, and then in your next job you may say I manage and I develop. Well, they're not matching verb tense. They're not consistent. So you want to say you managed it. And you want to say that across the board in your resume, or you want to say you manage and it's current tense. Excuse me. So you want to just be consistent. You don't want to really, you want to stay away from I. We talked about that. No fancy paper. Even though I have to tell you all, I had someone that had water printed their profile in their resume, and we were really intrigued by that. I have to tell you, we were really intrigued, but that doesn't always go well. So I would advise you don't try. It just so happened that person had the skills to do the job too, so they did get it. Excuse me, and don't put a picture or a selfie on your resume unless it's requested, and then tailor your resume to each position to which you apply. So I will. We'll talk a little more about that. Any questions so far? Pretty simple, right? Okay, so this is an example of a functional resume. You'll see the name is at the top, and that they have the objective there, and they have the, so when you look at the skill set and experience, you'll see that it's not by employer, but instead it's by their actual skill set, the work ethic, problem solving. So this is an example of what a functional resume would look like. You'll see at the bottom it says employment history here. So you're not excluding your employment history. Your recruiter is going to want to see that. but it's just bulleted so that it's just listing the place that you worked, the position that you held, and how long you held that. Okay. So and we are going to go through the process, a brief process of creating your resume. But one of the things I want to tell you is that you really have to look at the job posting. I know that your resume is going to be fairly generic, and you shouldn't have to redo the whole thing every time. But you do want to look at the job posting when you're applying for a job, because there's a few reasons why. The first thing is that when you are posting your job, when you're posting to a job that might be electronic, like on an Indeed or a LinkedIn, those job boards actually source candidates to the hiring manager based on keywords. So if you're looking for a customer service job and customer service is nowhere in your resume, that recruiter is never going to get that resume. They're never going to look at that resume. And partially the reason why they do that is because a recruiter might have several hundred resumes that come to them through these job boards. So as an example, Maisha mentioned that we work together at family health centers, and we have a position, I believe it's actually one of Maisha's positions, that has over 900 candidates in the resume pool. And we have one that also has like 2,000 resumes in the resume pool. So if you want to get that resume in front of that hiring manager, you're going to have to put those keywords in there. Mm-hmm. And so this is an example of a job posting, and just I wanted to show you here that it talks about what the requirements are. So these requirements absolutely have to be in your resume somewhere, that you have the skill set or have done the job, or it will not show up. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Okay. So this is the point where I want you to take a few minutes and think about what your resume looks like. Think about what your skill set looks like, and think about what you've done. So I'd like you to think about if you don't have a resume right now, I want you to think about, like, and I wasn't sure what the age range for this group was going to be, so this is kind of geared towards younger people, but or I should say kids right out of high school and going into right out of college, so with their first real job. So with this exercise, what I'd like you to do is think about your school, certainly what your education has been. And I'm going to go back to the previous slide so we can talk about it from there. So I want you to think about what jobs you've had and what you did on those jobs, just bullets for that, what you've done on the job. And so can you take just a few minutes to do that? If you have your resume in front of you, just read over that and look to see if you have, if you really are talking about all the skills that you have, all the things that you've done in those positions. So again, if you'll take just a few minutes to look at, think about, put down your education, put down what experiences, jobs that you've had, and just jot down what you did in those positions. Also jot down your volunteer work and any type of certificates that you have, certificates or any type of accolades that you might have. Can you just take just a few minutes to do that? So you all don't look like you have a whole bunch that you have to do. Do most of you already have resumes in place? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to skip over that. I'll skip over that. But so let's talk about what action verbs and power words you're using on your resume. So read over your resume and look to see what kind of words you're using when you're trying to describe what it is you've been doing on your job. So this is a list of power words or action words that you need to be using to boost up what it is you did or what you've done in your position, your past position. I'm going to give Maisha a copy of the presentation so that you all can take a look at these action words and make sure that you're using those on your resume. Let's talk about social media. So, social media is can be a very big problem for job seekers because oftentimes we think that our social media is private, and it absolutely is not private. You think that just your friends are looking, and maybe you don't mind that your profile is public. But when it comes to looking for a job, believe it or not, recruiters are looking at you. They're looking at your social media. They're checking out who you are. And so I just want to go over this, where in 2014, it was said that there are roughly 80% of individuals using some form of a handheld device. And that's probably much higher. I'm sure that's much higher at this point. But it's placed your social media right at your fingertips. Oftentimes, people are not thinking about what they're doing. They're just posting because they're going along in their day. They're saying things about what's happening in the news and making all of their opinions very well stated on social media. But I'm going to encourage you to recognize that it's not just your family and friends that have access to your profile, and that what you say in your social media can cost you an opportunity, it can cost you a job. So I encourage you to what we call wait. Will it be okay with absolutely everyone who's seeing this if I post this post? Think of your supervisor, your principal, your parents, church members, and if you answer no, that you wouldn't want those people to see that post, then you probably shouldn't post it. Am I reaching I'm getting some feedback. Am I reaching to someone or something? Reacting to someone or something. Reacting to a negativity only causes additional negativity. Don't have a social media fight with other students or other employees. If there's a social media war brewing, just get your company involved. If you're being harassed, get your company involved. Is this really something I want to share, or am I just venting? I'll really give that some thought. We've all vented about jobs, schools, families, so forth. But those conversations should be had with those close to us, not with your 5,000 followers. And then T, think about if you offend anyone with your comments, and if so, who are you offending? Take everyone into consideration, and remember that being offensive to anyone is inappropriate. So let's talk about how people have lost their jobs. These are just a few examples. Then I'm going to share with you some personal examples. So this young lady, Ashley Johnson, she's 22 years old, out of North Carolina. She's a waitress. She blasted 2 customers over Facebook for assisting her with a tip and keeping her late. She also took the time to mention her workplace by name. She was fired for breaking the rule about disparaging her customers. a British woman serving jury duty posted details of the case she was serving on. She then wrote, "I don't know which way to go, so I'm holding a poll." An anonymous tip resulted in the woman being immediately dismissed from the jury. I don't know if you all heard about the case where someone else did this and they actually ended up going to jail. So again, they're looking at social media. A Charlotte, North Carolina teacher was recommended for firing by a superintendent after making some remarks that the superintendent perceived as racially insensitive. The teacher listed teaching chitlins in the ghetto of Charlotte in her interest sections, and she also listed "I'm teaching in the most ghetto school in Charlotte" in her About Me section. So, of course, someone saw that and reported her and tried to get her fired. Natalie Blanchard had been living off of disability insurance for depression since 2008, but when Manual Life, the Canadian insurance company making the payments, got into her Facebook page, they saw her relaxing on the beach, hanging out at Chippendale Style Club, and generally having a lot of fun. So she immediately lost her insurance benefit. So, in my experience, I've had people posting inappropriate pictures. I have had, again, employees who, I actually had an employee at some point, and this is not where Maisha and I worked together, and nor am I going to tell you where it was, but I had an employee that decided they were going to take a picture of someone's behind and post it on their website. So although that, we love seeing those Walmart pictures, they're hilarious. But if you are the employee that is posting those pictures, it could certainly get you fired. In my case, the customer actually saw that picture of herself, and she called the corporate office, and we fired that person because they weren't supposed to be taking pictures of our clients. So this becomes a problem. So I say all of this to say that you really have to be careful what you're doing on social media, because the recruiters are looking, and it could cost you your job. And that is not a typo. I don't know if you all know where I say social media is the devil. Anybody know where that came from, the devil?
Mm-mm.
Random question.
Nah, I never heard it.
Anybody? Well, the devil came from The Water Boy. Did you all see that movie with Adam Sandler where he said everything was the devil?
Yes, I remember that.
Thank you, Mike, for helping me out there.
I was going to say, you took it back. I had to think about that.
Michelle, we do have Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but Michelle, we did have a quick question.
Sure.
About social media. Are companies allowed to ask for social media info?
Are they allowed to ask for social media info? There's no law that says that they cannot ask for social media info. So the answer is yes, they can ask for social media info. Most are not going to ask for social media info, because if they give you a heads up that they're looking, then you're going to go and erase everything, and they want to see you in your natural state. So my suggestion is, if you don't want your employers and other people looking, or your employers or the insurance companies or whoever to be looking at your profiles, then you need to make them private. And even in those cases, sometimes people can get access to your information by people that you know. Believe it or not, the majority of the people that I fired because of social media issues have come from reports that have come from friends of theirs, where they're taking screenshots of things that people are posting, and it's still private, but a friend of that person took pictures of that profile and shared it with someone in leadership. So I would just suggest to you to just keep it clean. So clean up your pictures, watch what you're tagged on, and be careful of your feed, and make your profile private. So I hope that answers your question. Can you? Yes, they can ask you. You can decline, but usually they won't ask. They'll just go look. So, dressing for success. One of the things that I said we would talk about was presenting yourself in the interview. So let's talk about that a little bit. So, of course, how you present yourself to the world is of the utmost importance during your interview. If you give off the wrong impression to the recruiter by the way that you're dressed, it can cost you the job. So be smart about what you're wearing and dress appropriately. So here are the tips. Keep it simple. You want to make sure that the interviewer is not distracted. You want to make sure that they're looking at your skill set. And they're taking a look at your resume. They're asking questions about what it is you do, how you're qualified. You don't want them distracted by anything, by your perfume or your cologne. You don't want them distracted by tattoos. So make sure that you're keeping your attire very simple. Make sure that you're using neutral colors. We're gonna play a game, and you're gonna see what I mean by neutral colors, or kind of subdued colors versus more brighter colors that may not be appropriate. It's fine if you use an accent color. Stay away from clothes that are too tight, too short, too low cut, too big, too sheer, just too much. And then make sure that you're well groomed. Your hair, your nails should be clean and neat. And this is relevant for both men and women. Your makeup should be natural. And then your shoes should be neat. They should be clean and polished. You'd be surprised at what people observe. And so you want to make sure that you're presenting yourself neatly. Now, there are occasions when it is okay to not wear a suit. So at family health centers, our MAs wear uniforms. They wear scrubs, not only the MAs, but several of the other categories of employees. So let's just say you're coming from work and you're going directly to the interview. It is okay to ask that interviewer if you can come in, if you're going for an MA position, for example. It's okay to say, I'm coming from work. I have on scrubs. Will it be okay for me to wear scrubs in that interview? And they'll tell you yes or no. Or if you know that business environment is extremely casual, and so you would want to prepare by asking what the environment is like, and you would want to ask the question, should I wear a suit to the interview, or should I come a little more casual, or a little less dressy for the environment? And sometimes that would be okay. It's okay for you to ask the question. But if you're not sure, you just want to go with a suit on, or go with a very business like attire. Are there any questions about that? Okay. So this is a game we call Nailed It or Nah, meaning no, of course. So I just want you to tell me what you think, okay? What do you think?
Not.
Nah.
Is it a skirt?
Nah. Right. Well, from the back, it's not so bad, but from the front, it's short.
Yeah.
So, no. Also, you're showing a lot of skin in this particular outfit, so I would not wear that because I think it's a little too revealing. It's definitely shorts are definitely not appropriate. So, okay. Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a much better look, right? Much more professional looking.
No. I say nah. Nah.
That's right.
Nah.
Unless she's going for a hairstylist position.
Right. It might be
Yeah.
appropriate for that.
Right. This is true. That is hairstylist. Yeah, that would work. But for the average office position, probably not. Let's see. Yes.
I say yes.
I say yeah. This whole professional look.
Mm-hmm.
So she was able to pull off pink, right? She's able to pull off pink. It's not as it's not as generic as something like that, but it's still professional looking. So so this would be a much better look.
Nah.
No.
It's a beautiful outfit, but she's doing a lot, right? There's a lot of skin, there's a lot of jewelry. She looks great, but not for an interview.
Yes.
I'm saying she probably.
I give it a yes.
Brian, okay, I would say yes. Brian, did you say something?
I said yes. I keep muting because my neighbor's cutting his grass, and I don't want to close my window.
Okay, it's okay. All right. So yes, that's a yes. She looks great. So here's a few ideas. There's still short sleeve shirts, but there's a jacket over them, just kind of neutral. Let's talk about the men's outfit. How's Usher doing? This off for interview?
Very etchy.
No. That's casual Friday look.
He looks great, but that's much better for an interview, right? He nailed it.
No.
Channing Tatum.
Business travel, no.
Okay, so I'm going to say no too, because that is a much better look. And he doesn't have a tie on. But if they said, this is a casual environment, he could get away with that. He could get away without a tie.
No.
Yeah, he's trying to pull it off, right?
No.
And he has with a jacket. I'm just saying, what? No?
No.
Yeah.
Right? So he could get away with that. It's neutral colors. Still a little pop of coral there. So there's ways that people can still be themselves, but still be professional. So here's a few ideas for the gentlemen. I would say minus this little hanging down thing. I don't even know. Suspenders. You probably would want to just keep those suspenders up on your shoulders, at least for the interview.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, the Nicki Minaj picture, okay, so she shows up for the interview looking like Keke Palmer. But the first day at work, she shows up as her true self. Are you in jeopardy of losing your job at that point? Like, you turned on the professional for the interview, and now your first day at work is like a whole nother person?
So what I would say is that, are you in jeopardy of losing your job? They should have a conversation with you to say, we feel like your hair color is not appropriate for the job, or if there's some reason why they would need to have netting. So, for instance, our medical assistants and our nurses, they cannot wear their hair all out, even though they don't wear netting on their hair, but they can't wear their hair. There can't be a whole bunch of it, and we require that they have, general subdued colors, because having hair all over the place during any type of a procedure or, giving a shot or something can cause a problem. So So it's going to depend on the environment. But your question was, can they fire you? They can advise you that it's not appropriate for the workplace. It's not part of their expectation, and show you where it is in the handbook, and then they can expect you to change it. And if you do not change it, they can, at that point, go through the documentation process and turn you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. So here's some keys for tips for dressing for success. Keep it simple. You want to make sure that the interviewer is not distracted by your attire. Make sure to use neutral colors, gray, black, brown, however, again, it's fine to accent. Stay away from clothes that are too tight. We talked about that. Make sure that you're well groomed, that your hair is neat and clean, and that your nails are neat and clean. Makeup should be natural. Shoes should be neat, clean, and polished.
Hey, real quick question for you. I'm sorry to
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, other places where they give you examples, and for guys they talk about blues like navy and things like that. Are you saying to stay away from those?
From navies and blues? Are you saying from blue and navy?
Like, you ladies are smarter than men, right? You can adjust your outfits. A guy, we pretty much have a suit. We're just picking colors and ties, right?
Right.
I heard many people say they prefer blue suits over black because it's black is a little more morbid. Was the way it was explained to you?
So it's either blue or black. I don't think that there's really a big difference as to what is preferred. But there are organizations like accounting firms and law firms where that is the expectation. It's going to be blue or black and nothing else. The blue or the black would just be a preference for the interviewer, but I wouldn't think that if they were looking for qualified candidates that they would disqualify you if you did not have on blue or black. Now, they would probably disqualify you if you had on tan and you were going to an accounting firm because the nature of, or accounting firm or law firm, because the nature of their business and the nature of understanding who or what that function is, or having that experience, I guess is what I'm saying. The person coming to the interview would automatically know, if they were truly a professional in that industry, would know that people wear blue or black, period. Does that make sense?
No, correct. And I know it sounds weird. I just didn't see the blue.
Oh, wait, I think I lost you. Let me make sure I have my speaker on. Oh, I do. So I couldn't hear you, Brian.
Well, no, I was just curious because you didn't have blue listed, if that's like a new trend to not use it at all. That's all.
I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you to repeat that one more time because I was having an issue hearing you.
I wasn't sure if it was a new trend to not use blue at all.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
No, sorry. It's not. Blue is still very much in play. Navy blue. Navy blues. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry, my phone I don't know what happened to it, actually. Any other questions? So you got the interview. So now what happens? So you really, going into that interview, you have one opportunity to show them that you're interested, that you're qualified for the job. So before you go to the potential employee's website to research the company. I cannot stress how important that is. If you come to the interview and you don't know anything about the company, chances of you getting hired are very slim, because why are you applying for the job? Recruiters are put off by people who just want to work. If you tell them, oh, I'm just looking for a job, I'm not employed right now, I just want to work, they are not going to be interested to hire you. Because what happens is, if you are just looking for a job, that means that you might just be looking for another job soon, or this is just an in-between time opportunity that comes along. And it costs employers money to, of course, it costs employers money and a lot of time to recruit. So the last thing they want to do is choose somebody who doesn't know anything about their company, doesn't know anything about the position, and is just, they're just showing up to the interview because you gave them an opportunity. So I would highly encourage that you do the research. Review the updated resume and tailor it to the job. We talked about that. We talked about using those keywords, and you shouldn't show up to an IT job with a customer service resume. You need to tailor it to what it is you're looking to do. Decide on the outfit and the shoes. Groom yourself properly. Make a list of questions to ask. We're going to talk about that in a second. Practice interviewing with your family and friends. If you haven't done an interview in a while, so this is what I suggest. Even if you are not interviewing regularly or you're not looking for a job, sometimes it's good to just get out there and see what's going on in the market and to go on an interview if you can, because it gives you good practice and you see what employers are asking for right now. So it's always good practice, and you might get a good job out of it too. So, but definitely practice. I know Zoom interviews are a big deal these days, and so if you're doing a Zoom interview, please know how to use Zoom, know how to log in, try it before it's time for you to have your interview. That's really important, because you don't want to lose your place in line for your interview because you just couldn't use the technology. Practice interviewing. Arrive 15 minutes early. That's really important. Maisha and I have worked with a CEO who has absolutely zero tolerance for being late. And if your meeting starts at 9 o'clock, you actually start at like 8:57. So you have to be very diligent at being on time. During the interview, give a firm handshake, eye contact, stay calm. Pace yourself, don't speak too fast, don't rush through the interview. Give examples when answering questions. Don't fidget, don't chew gum. And then after the interview, make sure you send a thank you, whether it's an email or whether it is a note. And then follow up with the interviewer via email or phone within a week. I also want to say this. So this is a little tip that I have been giving people. Most of the resumes that people receive nowadays from recruiters are electronic resumes. And 9 times out of 10, no one is getting paper resumes these days. So if you put your resume in the mail along with the electronic, applying online also, if you put your resume in the mail, that's probably one resume that they're going to look at it pretty immediately. Well, they want to look at it immediately because they're checking their mail. So I would encourage you, if you want to get a heads up, you want to get your resume seen, go ahead and apply electronically, but stick that resume in the mail and hopefully it'll get to them because they're going to look through their mail and they're going to see your resume. So it's just a little tidbit that I've been telling people to do. Ask questions. It is critical that you think of some questions to ask that recruiter because they want to know. It just shows that you're interested. It shows that you really thought about, you didn't just show up that day. You actually thought about the position. You thought about the company. You thought about what it would be like to be part of the company, and you have questions about that. It shows that you really are interested in the job. So you want to always make sure that you have questions. So what's your typical day look like? What are the prospects for growth and advancement? How long have you worked here? That's always a great question. Recruiters or hiring managers, whether it's the CEO or whoever is part of that organization that's interviewing you, they like to talk about themselves. So if you ask them how long they've been there, what their experience has been like, you're automatically causing building a connection between yourself and that recruiter or that hiring manager. If I am offered the position, how soon do you want me to start? here's another tidbit of information. If you're not working, it's fine to say, I'll start right away. But if you are working, you want to really give some thought to whether you're going to start before 2 weeks. The reason why I would say that is because although you may want to get in that organization really quickly, and although you may not really love your job and want to get away from the people as soon as you possibly can, but the ramifications of saying that you're not going to give your current employer 2 weeks it makes them consider, okay, if you left my job, would you give me 2 weeks? So you always want to consider, and if you can leave before 2 weeks, you want to have a very firm reason why it's okay for you to leave within 2 weeks. And that might be that, they knew that you were leaving. You were already planning to leave for whatever reason. But you want to just make sure you have a good reason. You don't want to go to your new employer with them thinking that you're unethical in terms of your work, or not professional, I should say. Okay. So, any questions about the interviewing part?
I don't have a question, but Michelle, I did just want to add, just since you've been working with me on recruiting, some of the really great questions that I've got from candidates have been geared towards the pandemic. So a young lady asked at the end of our interview, what are some of the measures that your company has taken to assure that patients and staff alike are safe? I thought that was great. We also got some questions about, what are some of the tools that you all use for how you evaluate performance, metrics? How do I know that I'm doing a good job? How do we measure that? So some really good in tune questions that folks have been giving us lately for our own recruiting efforts that I thought that kind of just blew me away. Like, wow, this is a forward thinking candidate. And they're aware of also not just what's going on in this interview, but what's going on in the world and how that affects the workplace. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, so those are good questions. They're great questions. Also questions about the culture of the organization. What is the culture of your organization like? What kind of leader are you? How do you manage? And the questions about the organization and COVID right now are great questions to ask. Thank you, Maisha. So just in wrapping up, be sure to ask questions, do your homework and research the company. And so don't discuss benefits, salary, or bonuses. It's really not an appropriate question at the end of your first interview to ask about money or benefits. Now, you could say you all do have benefits like medical and dental and so forth, correct? So you could pose your question like that, but to say, what are your benefits or what does this job pay? That's not an appropriate question for the first interview. It is absolutely not an appropriate question for prior to the interview. So just if you go to the second level, that would be the opportunity, or the second interview, that would be the opportunity to talk about when you know that they're interested in you and that you are one of a few candidates. That would be the more timely time to talk about benefits and salary at that time. Okay. And then watch your body language. It's what you don't say that can count. I don't know if you all can see this. Did I make that bigger for you guys? So be careful of being defensive or coming off defensive or arrogant or annoyed. And then, or irritated. You want to come off as being happy, joyful. Don't be confused. Don't look like you're confused, and please don't look worried. So those are just some key things to watch out for. So that is my presentation. I feel like I know that we're coming up to the end of our time together, but I feel like for the resume piece of it, the creating a resume, what I will offer to you all is if you would like me to look at your resume, because you all said that you already have resumes. So if you would like me to look at your resume, I'll definitely, I can post my email address and you can send me your resume. I'll take a look at it. I'm not going to charge you for it or anything, but I'll definitely give you my feedback if you would like to do that. I'd be happy to do that for you. So are there any questions about anything that we talked about? Any questions that you wanted to get answered that I did not, or discussion that you wanted to have that we didn't touch on?
Michelle, I do have a question. What's a good way to kind of explain your gaps in a resume? Sometimes I have candidates where they maybe took a break, and I can tell that maybe something went on in their life, but they don't do a really good job of explaining it. So it leaves you as the hiring manager to be like, I don't know, were you unstable? What's going on? So how can they kind of explain some of those gaps if they do? Maybe they were out of work for a while or something like that.
Well, some of the easier things to say, if provided that they're true, or that you were laid off or the company has some downsizing, usually the gap, and it's fine to say I took off time to take care of a loved one, or I went through a period where I was a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom. Those are fine things to say. It's where what gets tricky is when they have gaps in employment because they were terminated. And so if you are fired from a job, I think that probably the best thing to say is that, I had some challenges in my last job, and so I just decided we decided to part ways. Of course, you're going to get some questions about that, and you have to be really, quite honestly, you have to be honest about it, because they're going to want to know where you let go, and you don't want to seem like you're being evasive. So you have to just tell the truth. Yes, I was let go, and these are the reasons why. The one thing that you should not do in a case where you were let go from a company is you don't want to ever badmouth the company. Don't bother to do it because they don't really want to hear it. It sounds like you're making excuses. So you just want to say, I was let go. These are the facts of the situation. And you can, what would really be great to do is to follow up that conversation with, these are the things I learned from that situation. And it might be, if you were giving bad customer service, I didn't recognize at the time that this is what I was doing. The next time, this is what I would do differently. So you can't erase that from your record, but you certainly can make it be vocal about the fact that it was a learning opportunity for you. This is what you learned, and this is what you would do different if you were in that person's organization. Did that answer your question, Maisha?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
What do employers and interviewees think about people coming in with tattoos on?
So I'll say two things about that. The first thing is, I think that employers are used to it minimally, meaning if you have a tattoo, on your wrist or something, they're probably not going to say anything unless it says something vulgar. But you should make every effort that you can to cover up your tattoos, because it is professionally, the expectation is that you're going to cover them up. So yes, they want you to cover them up. It's perceived as unprofessional if there's a place that they are, if there's a place on your body that you can cover up that you don't cover up. So you should make an effort to do that. I think that employers know that people have tattoos, and most companies have a policy about them. So if you are in a situation where the job that you have to do, you are not going to be able to cover up your tattoos, and you want to ask the question, not in the first interview. Don't do it in the first interview. But if you make it to the second interview, and you know that, let's say, I'll just give the company that Maisha and I work with, they have short sleeve scrub. And so if you know that your tattoo is going to show in the second interview, you might have the conversation about what's your dress policy, and do you have a policy about tattoos? And just ask the question.
Thank you.
In the interview, you're welcome. What else? Okay. Well, I'm going to leave the presentation for Maisha. And what I'm going to do, Maisha, before I do that, that worksheet that we had that focused on building your resume, that I said it was really focused on employees that were newly entering the work field. I'm going to give y'all a different template for that resume, for that worksheet, so that, because it looks like probably you all have had opportunity, have worked before. So I'll give you a template that might help better for you all to think about how to build your resume. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Well, that is it for me. I appreciate you all allowing me to talk about this, and good luck in your job searches if anyone is searching for a job right now.
Thank you much. Are you going to share your email with us?
Yes, I sure will. Let me see. Can I write it down? Can I put it in the chat? Can you all see that?
Yeah, however you want to do that. And we can also make sure that we send out the link to the participants as well.
Oh, okay. If you're going to send a link, whatever you all want to do, I was just curious. But thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just put it there to share. So it's Michelle.Valdez at DezCorp, which is DezCorp.com. Okay.
Thank you again so much, Michelle, for providing us with some direction. We're definitely better prepared for our opportunity to interview and nail that job opportunity. We want to thank all of the participants who signed up today for another successful event. Please continue to check out our website for upcoming Zoom sessions. We're going to weather this storm for the pandemic, but hopefully in the future, once we return to some sort of normalcy, that maybe we can actually meet in person and resume those workshops as well. And I'll give the floor to our president, Shamir, for any closing remarks that she has.
Well, yes, again, I just want to thank you so much, Miss Michelle, for taking this time on a Saturday. You know, you could have been doing other things, but we really appreciate your time and effort here. Everyone who took time to participate, you know, we thank you. We are driven to help you out in any way we can, considering our nonprofit is essentially there to advance, to provide information, and just to really be supportive to you in these journeys in different parts of your life. So again, just visit our website if you have any questions or concerns. If it's something that you want us to tackle, or just topics that you feel like you need some more information on, please feel free to give a suggestion. You will be seeing the email with the link for the packet that we went over today. If you do not hear from us, we're here. You can contact us via email, from our Facebook or Instagram, but we'll be sure to get that packet out to you. And take her up on her offer. Send the email with your resume so you can get that reviewed. I personally will be doing that because I don't think my resume has been a page in quite some time. Okay, so I'm just going to put that out there, and I just want to be sure that I am putting the right information out there to be presented for that first page. So please take advantage of that. Again, thank you so much. Upcoming, we are hosting a fundraiser in regards to helping those who were affected with the CARE Act in regards to COVID assistance, financial assistance, and are facing for rent issues and eviction. So you will be seeing some promotions on that, but we do have an upcoming workshop that we're working out the details on. So again, thank you again. Everyone have a blessed Saturday, and please be in touch.
Thank you. Have a good day.